Hey guys, what's up? It's another discussion with me, and this time I'm going to be talking about the boost gameplay again. I'm not going to complain about the negatives I have with Sonic Forces, why it's in Sonic Forces. Instead, is not going to be me complaining, but rather me providing a solution. How to fix the boost gameplay. Alright, so you guys know I'm not the biggest aficionado with the boost gameplay. I'm not the biggest fan, but I can see why Sega's using it. But alright, let's talk about the boost gameplay just for a second here. Alright, the boost gameplay consists of Sonic running extremely fast. He has a boost, he has a drift, he has a stomp. He has the basic Sonic Adventure abilities, only added on with worse control and a boost that allows you to go very quickly. This gameplay really focuses on Sonic being fast as the main spectacle and the main appeal of even getting these games, because you know Sonic's gonna be going extremely fast. And while I can see that, I can see why Sega would try to impress people with the amount of speed you're able to create. It's great for trailer shots, all that sort of stuff, but what Sega's doing is they're sacrificing control. If you actually play Generations and Unleashed without the boost and try to move Sonic left and right on your own, he's very stiff. It's basically impossible for him to actually turn at all unless you are actually using the drift. Sega sacrificed control for this great speed, and I don't agree with that. Unless you play Sonic in bigger environments, where Sonic doesn't have to just simply move left and right, just a little bit, but instead, if you want to completely turn yourself around, you can just drift the other way. What I am proposing is making huge expansive worlds for Sonic in each stage. Now, I know Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Colors, and Sonic Generations all have their alternate paths, and while Sega is making little strides into the right direction here, I feel like they have to take something way more risky and a lot less safe if they are willing to change modern Sonic's gameplay and to better suit it. What I propose is something similar to Sonic Utopia. Sonic Utopia is a big open world, basically Green Hill on crack and in 3D. And it's amazing because there's just so many paths, so many things you are able to do, and basically the main appeal of the game is that you're not focusing on that alternate path to take you to the certain way. You don't have to follow that spring. You're able to use your own abilities to possibly skip areas and skip springs. You're able to use your immense speed and power to reach areas you never thought possible, or without having to follow the basic path the game is telling you. You give Sonic abilities such as the Sonic Boost, which allows him to traverse ground extremely quickly. He's able to just take off and go. That's a lot of momentum he's able to build up in just 1 second. Imagine if Sega decided to put that into gameplay, where you press the boost and then you jump off some sort of ramp, and not the game doing it for you, but you jump off of some area that resembles a ramp and you're able to launch yourself really high and really far in the air. That's something I feel like Sega's kind of missing out on. I feel like if they're going to make Sonic have these overpowered abilities, at least give him a world where he can properly use them. If we place Sonic into some sort of environment which is big and open and has tons of paths, and you're able to use your speed and your abilities to figure out what you want to do, where you want to go, and you don't have to follow the game, you don't have to follow what the game is telling you and where the springs are pointing you, I feel like that'd be a way better way of making a Sonic game. Of course, you can have your basic path, of course, but the thing is, what you should have is a bunch of alternate paths and alternate ways of reaching those alternate pathways. Alright, let me explain this. Chemical Plant Zone Act 2. Now, you begin the stage on this really long pipe tube thing, and while you might think the two other ones are simply part of the background, they're not. You can actually jump onto them and boost, which I think is a really good idea. I never would have thought Sega would have done something like that until they did. I found it really interesting how they're able to do something like that. And while, yes, you have 3 different tubes that you can go on, eventually they all lead back to the same main path. You get 3 pathways, and then all of a sudden they get combined into one again. That's what I don't like about it. I feel like whenever you take an alternate pathway in Sonic Generations, it just feels like you're just straying away from the main path for a second, and then all of a sudden you're being forced back into it. Instead, what Sega should be doing is placing Sonic in these bigger environments which reward you for taking this alternate pathway. It takes you on a route completely different than the main one. That's one thing I don't like, because while Sega may talk about how many alternate paths they have in a stage, it all leads back to the main path eventually. But what we should be doing is focusing on alternate routes and alternate pathways, which actually differ from the main one, and they can have their own alternate paths on top of that. What we should do is give Sonic as much freedom as he possibly can. If basic people are going to complain about the stages being too big, that's why we have the boost. The boost can allow you to run extremely quickly across those long stretches of land and finish stages extremely quickly. You always can have this main path where everyone is expected to go, but even then you can have alternate paths that stray from the main route, or just alternate paths that are on the main route that allow you to access more hidden goodies. While something like that would be far different than what we're getting in the games now, I feel like it would definitely benefit Sonic. Just imagine Sonic Utopia, only you are a way faster Sonic. I feel like that would be amazing to see something like that. Of course, we're probably not getting that, and what we may be getting instead is going to be probably an expansion of Sonic Generations. You know, I guess Sega can make these small steps at a time, but I feel like if Sega was to really impress the Sonic fans at this point, they really have to change something, they really have to play it less safe, and they really just have to change things. If we had big, open world stages where it's basically you find your own way to the goal, I think that'd be amazing. Stages like Green Hill Paradise kind of have that idea, although, you know, there is kind of a confusion, I'd say. Probably the first time I played Green Hill Paradise, I had no idea where the goal ring was. So I'm saying to focus more on the Sonic Utopia method, where there is a straight line, there is a main path that is implied. But the thing is, you have the path on the left, path on the right, you have hidden little areas, hidden stages in there. It's amazing how much Sonic Utopia managed to fit into one little tech demo. And I feel like if Sonic stages were to comprise of something like that throughout an entire game, that'd be really impressive to see something like that. Of course, what I'm asking for is a complete overhaul of the boost stage formula, and while that may seem a little bit radical, asking a little bit too much, I feel like at this point Sega has missed their chance to do something like this, and if they continue going on with the path that they're currently on, all the boost stages are going to look exactly the same, they're going to feel exactly the same the more and more they keep putting this out. I feel like they have to make some big change down the road, or if not, their boost gameplay is going to fail. Either that, or bring in adventure gameplay, which I honestly don't know any people who would complain about the adventure gameplay being back. But I could see it. The boost gameplay is Sega's basically bread and butter at this point. Their most successful Sonic games in years. I can see why they're using it. And while I don't have a problem with the gameplay, I do have a problem with how the stages are set up and how they're structured. So if Sega wants to keep their gameplay fresh, they don't have to change that much about Sonic, but rather just change the environments that he is in. Give more freedom to the player. Don't let them feel limited. Let them feel like they can do anything.